Bonjour mes amis, nous voici dans le chapitre préliminaire Présentons-nous. Et ça c'est la leçon pour vendredi le 14 août. So I'll translate that for you now. And so here we are in the preliminary chapter, present ourselves. And this is the recording little miniature lecture for Friday, August the 14th. So on Wednesday in class, we talked about les points de départ, or beginning points, on se salue. And these are common greetings in French that you need to learn. And I'll repeat those for you very quickly here. Comment ça va? Comment allez-vous? I'll pause briefly so as you're watching this video, you can repeat out loud and practice. Je vais bien. Très bien, merci. Ça va? Pas mal. Ça peut aller. Ça ne va pas. Ça va mal. This is a conversation that we looked at in class on Wednesday between Mathilde and Bertrand. And on se salue. These are friends who are using the informal way of conversing. So remember we went over these phrases. Salut, je m'appelle Mathilde. Et toi, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Bertrand. Tu es de Dijon? Non, moi je suis de Vaux-sur-Aubigny. A more formal way of greeting one another would be with this conversation between Anne and Bertrand. Bonjour. Bonjour, madame. Comment vous appelez-vous? Je m'appelle Bertrand. Et voici mon ami Catfish. Bonjour, Catfish. Enchanté, madame. So, as one of the learning objectives for this chapter, you are to learn how to present someone else. What word in this conversation do you think allows Bertrand to present Catfish? If you said, voici mon ami, you're correct. This is the simplest way to introduce another person. For example, if you can see my dog, I could say, voici Coco. And here's a conversation when people are departing, maybe after having been over for dinner. So this is how you would say goodbye. And notice again here, we have this cultural way of saying goodbye and hello, and they are what the French would call se faire la bise. So, ils se font la bise, même pour dire au revoir. So, bon, salut. Salut Bertrand. Salut Catfish. À bientôt Mathilde. Salut Jacques. Ciao Catfish. Bertrand. À plus. Au revoir monsieur. Au revoir Bertrand. Catfish. À bientôt. So there are some new terms here that we did not study in class on Wednesday. For example, oh, it's okay, Coco. À bientôt. À bientôt means see you soon. Ciao, see you later. It's kind of a universal greeting or salutation. À plus is short for à plus tard. In other words, see you later. It's kind of the same as à bientôt. À bientôt technically is see you soon. À plus tard would be see you later, or just simply à plus or à plus. I know I told you that typically S's at the ends of words are not pronounced. In this case, with the phrase à plus, that's an exception to the rule. So French is a language of exceptions, and there are all these rules, but then there are little exceptions to the rules. So à plus. Au revoir, so it's not au revoir, but au revoir. So au revoir, à bientôt. Okay, we talked a little bit about the formality of French greetings and always saying bonjour, a very important word. And remember that when speaking French, it's customary to include titles such as monsieur and madame. So, monsieur and madame. We wouldn't say necessarily hello ma'am, hello sir, unless you're Southern and genteel. That's kind of a thing of the past and a little bit passé, as the French might say, but it's very customary in France to say bonjour madame, bonjour monsieur, and you would, even if you know the person's last name, you wouldn't say bonjour madame Smith, bonjour monsieur Johnson. You would just leave it at monsieur and madame. We talked about tu and vous, and I'm excited to see what you have to say about the chapter on Talk to the Snail that you're to read for Friday. It's written by an Englishman, and it's with English humor. And the article itself is a little bit dated, so take it with a grain of salt. It's meant to be funny. Okay, so I'll pause here for a second to allow you to think of what roommates Jacques and Luc might say to each other when they see each other at the end of the day. If you said, bonjour, or salut Jacques, ça va? And Luc might say, oui, oh, ça va. Perhaps. Or let's look at scenario number 4. A student Mark sees his teacher, Monsieur Lapierre, in the hallway. What might he say to Monsieur Lapierre, his teacher? If you said, he might say, bonjour, monsieur, you're absolutely correct. Now, would he say, ça va? Or might he say, comment allez-vous? In this case, since Monsieur Lapierre is a superior to Mark, and Mark wants to show his respect, he might say comment allez-vous instead of comment ça va. Okay, so for today you're also studying the verb être. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, on est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. So remember, the words that you see here are simply called subject pronouns. The equivalent in English to je is I, okay? And just like the verb to be, or here the verb être, in its infinitive or raw form, the form that you would find in the dictionary, is an irregular verb in English. It's also an irregular verb in French. And an irregular verb means that there is no rhyme or reason, there's no pattern to the conjugation. This is just a verb that you have to memorize. One thing that you need to remember here is that subject pronouns can replace nouns. In other words, and you'll see what I mean in a second, if I say Jean est fatigué, you could say, il est fatigué, and so the il refers back to Jean. It replaces him. Okay, so it's the antecedent. So elle est en forme. Elle est en forme. She's in good shape today. She's feeling fine. So qui est elle? Maybe it's Sarah. So Sarah est en forme. Ah oui, elle est en forme. So we can replace nouns, proper nouns, with subject pronouns. The subject pronoun that you see on the bottom left can mean many different things. It can mean we, people are, one is. So although on the left-hand side of the screen here, you see the singular conjugations, on is an exception and can function like nous sommes. On est is more of a spoken phenomenon in French, like on est en forme, we're in good shape. You could also say nous sommes en forme, okay? Or if I say on est à Asheville, we are in Asheville. Nous sommes à Asheville, we are in Asheville. And the nous sommes form is more of a written phenomenon and definitely more a formal register of language. Okay, so vous êtes, the little underscore, the curved underscore here is to denote a liaison. So that means that you connect the S to the E and you say vous êtes, you are. Okay, ils sont or elles sont. So ils sont, they are, the mixed group of people. Elles sont, the female identifying group of people are, or a group of things. So remember that il and elle can replace objects. For example, le livre, this is un livre. Bon, voilà un livre. Voilà un autre livre. Donc, voici les livres. Okay? Les livres sont grands. Les livres sont grands. I can replace les livres with the subject pronoun il, they. Okay? They are. Well, we'll talk more about that later. So here's a little activity that I'll give you a second to look at. Read the following sentences aloud. Replace the names with the appropriate subject pronoun. So, Jacques est de Dijon. So first of all, you have to know who the subject is. So who is the subject of the sentence in numéro 1? Très bien, si vous avez dit Jacques. Donc, Jacques est le sujet. Et Jacques est de Dijon. If you said il est de Dijon, then you're correct. I'm going to show you the answers here in just a second. So we'll just read these as they are, and then I'll let you fill in the blanks, and then we'll check your answers. So, numéro 2, Mathilde et moi sommes de Dijon. Numéro 3, Philippe et Anne sont de Dijon. Et numéro 4, Mathilde et Anne sont de Dijon. Et voilà les bonnes réponses. So, Jacques, il est de Dijon. Mathilde et moi, nous sommes de Dijon. Mathilde et moi sommes de Dijon. Nous sommes de Dijon. So the nous refers back to Mathilde et moi. Mathilde and I. So Mathilde and I are from Dijon. We are from Dijon. Nous sommes de Dijon. Coco. Okay, Philippe et Anne sont de Dijon. Ils sont de Dijon. So the il refers back to who? If you said Philippe et Anne, you are correct. So this is a compound subject. Therefore, the subject pronoun must also be compound or plural, il. And here we have a mixed group, Philippe et Anne. Philippe identifies as male and Anne identifies as female. So you always default to the masculine pronoun in French. We'll talk more in class next week about gender-neutral pronouns. In French, there is no consensus on what to use. So pick the one that speaks to you and just go with that. Numéro 4, Mathilde et Anne sont de Dijon. Elles sont de Dijon. So elles refers back to whom? If you said Mathilde et Anne, you are correct. In this case, the subject pronoun is feminine and plural. Okay, so here's another activity for you. And this time we're using the correct form of the verb être. So I'll read the phrases for you, and you need to conjugate the verb être to correspond with the subjects listed. So numéro 1. Manon et Paul de Lyon. Moi, je de Miami. Numéro 3. Tu de Nice. Numéro 4. Nous en de Tours. I'll just say that here they've used the stress pronoun nous, like, oh, us, en de Tours. We, so us, we are from Tours, which, by the way, is a really beautiful city in the Loire Valley, if If you get the chance to visit, you should go. The French say that it's like the Petit Paris of the Loire. So, numéro 5, vous de Paris. And numéro 6, Jacques et moi, nous. So, here you have the answers, or les bonnes réponses. Voici les réponses. Numéro 1, and I'll pause at the end of each sentence and I encourage you to repeat what I say. Numéro 1, Manon et Paul sont de Lyon. Numéro 2, moi, je suis de Miami. Numéro 3, tu es de Nice? Numéro 4, nous, on est de Tours. Numéro 5, vous êtes de Paris. Numéro 6, Jacques et moi, nous sommes de Dijon. So this is a concept, a new concept that is introduced to you on page 8 of your textbook. And these are called les pronoms disjoints, or tonic or stressed pronouns, and they are used primarily to emphasize or restate the subject. And so you'll see these tonic pronouns or stressed pronouns listed in boldface type with their corresponding subject pronoun in regular face type. So we just saw je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. And here they lump in the singular third person subject pronoun on with the plural first person pronoun nous. So you'll notice here the stress pronouns are pronounced moi, moi, toi, lui, him, elle, her, nous, us, vous, you, and eux, or elle, them. So, again, these are used to emphasize the subject. In the first example here, we have the phrase je m'appelle Jules. The answer would be toi. Et toi? And you? Mathilde, elles sont stressées. So, what do you think on this one? The fact here that the subject pronoun is feminine and plural might hint at the fact that we need, assuming that Mathilde is a female identifying subject, we need another female identifying subject here. So what would be the corresponding stress pronoun to complete this equation? Because sometimes language is like mathematics. You just have to figure out the rules, the equations, and the formulas and plug in the pieces. So if you said elle, you're correct. So Mathilde et elle. She and Mathilde, or Mathilde and she, they are stressed. Blank, je suis fatiguée, mais il va bien. So what is the corresponding stress pronoun for je? Well, look at the chart, and it is moi. Moi, je suis fatiguée, mais. So here we need the stress pronoun that corresponds to the subject pronoun il. And if you look at the chart, you have lui. Mais lui, il va bien. Now don't be confused. This doesn't mean Louis is doing well. Lui means him. So he is doing well. Okay, ce sont Philippe et Anne. Oh, is that Philip and Anne? Ah oui, ce sont And here again, we have Anne, who is a female identifying subject, and Philippe, a male identifying subject. We have a mixed group. So French is going to default to the il. We could replace Philippe et Anne with the subject pronoun il and say, ah, ils sont. Of course, that wouldn't make sense with this question, but ce sont Philippe et Anne. Oui, ce sont eux. Yes, it's them. Okay, don't stress about the stress pronouns. So, last point for today's lesson, and what we'll do here is look at leçon 2, à la fac. À la fac means at the faculté. So, faculté de lettres is one way the French say university. So you can call it l'université, but you can also call it la faculté. But they shorten the word for brevity's sake, literally, and call it la fac. So you are students at la fac. And this is on page 11 in your textbook if you want to follow along. And again, I believe you can in the textbook hear these words pronounced, but I'll pronounce them for you very quickly. So, voici une fenêtre. And again, I'll pause so you can repeat after me. Un tableau. Des devoirs. By the way, the little M here just means that devoir is a plural noun, but it's masculine. So every noun in French is assigned a gender. And for the most part, that can't change. Like inanimate objects have a gender assigned to them, and it's somewhat arbitrary. And you just have to memorize. Is it un or une? Is it un écran or une écran? In this case, screen is un écran. Une affiche. Une affiche. So why is it une affiche, feminine, okay, a poster, versus un écran, a screen, un masculine? I don't know. Why is screen masculine and poster feminine in French? I cannot tell you. I just know that we have to memorize the genders of words. So, memorize away. Une carte, un tableau blanc interactif, un feutre, voilà, une porte, une télévision, un ordinateur portable, un bureau, un lecteur DVD. By the way, that's a DVD player. They're kind of obsolete these days, but maybe you still have one. Un DVD, un livre, une feuille de papier, une gomme, un crayon, un portable, un téléphone portable. On peut dire aussi un smartphone, une tablette, un sac à dos, un professeur, une professeure, une craie, une brosse. Donc voilà. Okay, are you ready for a quiz? Let's see if your memory is correct. So, oui or non? C'est une fenêtre. Oui. C'est une porte. Non. C'est un sac à dos. Un sac à dos. C'est une porte? Oui, c'est une porte. C'est un ordinateur? Oui, c'est un ordinateur. C'est un livre? Oui, c'est un livre. C'est un... Désolé. C'est un crayon? Non. Ça, c'est un stylo. Un stylo. C'est un crayon? Oui, c'est un crayon. Ce sont les devoirs? Oui, ce sont les devoirs. C'est la professeure? Non, moi, c'est la professeure. Lui, c'est le professeur. C'est un smartphone? Non, c'est une tablette. Et voilà, c'est un smartphone? Oui, c'est un smartphone. D'accord. Voilà. Oh, on a oublié. Voici, répétez, les étudiants. Les étudiants. Voici les étudiants. OK. Bien. Voilà un tableau interactif. C'est un tableau interactif. OK. So, the French education system is very different than our education system in that almost all children are enrolled in public school by the age of 3, and it's mandatory. Also, one major difference for you as college students that you'll be very interested to know, if students do well on the very prestigious baccalaureate exam, or le bac, they can attend college for free. So it's a very competitive process, but France is a democratic socialist republic, and socialist republic just means that there are basic human rights that they value, like the right to education, the right to health care, the right to family leave time if you are of childbearing age and you have a child. There are just some fundamental rights that they feel belong to every human being, and it's something that they value, researchers and scholars, etc. So the system is just a little bit different there, and I would say that les grandes écoles might be equivalent to some PhD programs in this country. The very last thing that I'll point out here are some very useful phrases for communicating in class. Every verb that you see here is given in the command form, in the imperative form, meaning the subject is implied. And the implied subject for every one of these verb forms is you, plural, so vous. Imagine in brackets you have the subject vous écoutez bien. So I'll pronounce these for you. Écoutez bien, s'il vous plaît. And I'm just going to go over the ones that might be useful to us in an online learning setting. Répétez. Répétez sans regarder le livre. Regardez l'écran, s'il vous plaît. Montrez blah blah blah. Montrez Paris sur la carte. So montrer means to show. Lisez les mots au tableau, or lisez les mots sur l'écran. Lisez, read. Répondez en français. Répondez, respond. Ne parlez pas anglais. Do not speak English. Ne parlez pas anglais. Parlez plus fort, s'il vous plaît. Parlez plus fort, s'il vous plaît. Prenez un stylo et une feuille de papier, s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît, c'est ça. So, prenez, take, un stylo et du papier. Écrivez votre nom et votre prénom. Merci and de rien. I skipped over a few here because they seem irrelevant in an online learning setting. Okay, so I'll leave you to your own devices here, but just to give you a few key phrases will end on this, how you can communicate with me in class. And you can always chat this to me, or you can verbalize these things. So, répétez. Pardon? Je ne comprends pas. Pardon? Excuse me? Je ne comprends pas. I don't understand. Je ne sais pas, or je ne sais pas. So the French have a way of eating their syllables, and here, instead of je ne sais pas, they'll say je sais pas, je ne sais pas. I don't know. Répétez, s'il vous plaît. Répétez, s'il vous plaît. So the French R is a hard sound to make. Here's a trick. You can go aga, aga. Now say ara, aga, ara. And if you'll notice when you say aga, your tongue hits kind of at the front of your mouth. And if you say ara, your tongue hits in the back of your mouth. And so to make that French r sound, you have to make the aga sound. So répétez, s'il vous plaît. Keep practicing, it'll come. Et comment dit-on whiteboard en français? So comment dit-on, how does one say, or how do you say, and then you insert the word, en français. Comment dit-on en français? So, number 1, you don't know how to say pen in French. What's the question you ask me? If you said, comment dit-on pen en français, you're correct. Number 2, you don't know the answer to a question. What do you say? Je ne sais pas. And number 3, you don't understand what the professor just said. Pardon? Répétez, s'il vous plaît. Or, pardon? Je ne comprends pas. There are other things that you could say, but for now, we'll leave it at that. Merci beaucoup, mes amis, pour votre attention. I'll see you on the next rendition of Dr. Weems and PowerPoint. And Coco says, au revoir. Ciao!